Welcome to the Powerful Comicsman podcast. This is Jerald Dorado, and we continue the 40 Life Wisdom at 40 series. We are now entering number 33. But before we continue, let me just tell you about our little online bake shop, Miyucha Lux Cakes. Check us out at hello.miucha on Instagram and Facebook. That's at hello.miuccia. I keep telling you guys, this is the best. This is the place to get the best vegan treats, cookies, cakes, and all any kinds of desserts. Check out the page to know exactly what I'm talking about at hello.miucha. All right, and this podcast series is also uploaded in our page www.comicsman.com/40lifewisdom at 40. So you'll get all of the episodes there from the series. If you're just following it now, it's all there. Check it out. Okay, and at number 33, your well-being is your responsibility. Okay, I think it's self-explanatory again. um, that's just the case. When everything else fails, it you would have to rely yourself, and you should be capable of taking care of yourself, of your overall well-being, not just your finances, but also your health, your happiness, your your dreams, your sanity, your health, your competence, your every aspect of your life. And it is uh, it is imperative that you achieve self-sufficiency because it the people around you, even though you might be blessed to have people who who love you unconditionally, um or you might be the most loved person in in the entire world, but there would be a time when you would have to dig within yourself and rely on who you are. Of course, there would be people who are far less fortunate and are just forced to fend for themselves. A lot of them, it happens on early in childhood or in high school, earlier in life, and some those things would happen, um, becoming alone all of a sudden in the later years, whether they're in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and if you're not equipped to sustain yourself, to maintain maybe your lifestyle or your level of happiness, because your level of happiness would depend on a lot of factors. How much can you adjust in life, in your lifestyle, in your social relationship, in your status. Those are factors. And if there's anything that I've observed in my 40 years of existence, changes really do come and go. If you are if you are in your 30s and 40s, or older than I am, in 50s, you would know exactly what I'm talking about. If you are younger, you're just start if you're in your 20s, you're just starting to realize it. when you're in high school, if you're in high school listening to this, chances are there would be little hints. But when you're a kid, you don't really you don't really think about these things. You don't realize it. You think you would have the time in the world. I used to uh I used to say that. I said that phrase to my father many years ago. I was in high school. I was arguing with him. I said I have. It was actually I wrote it in a letter, and I told him I had all the time in the world. Looking back at it now, it was a foolish thing to say, and I wish I didn't think like that back then. And but then um, it's it is said also. I've read this somewhere that you will never be, because we talk about maturity all the time, and people expect you to be matured, and the thing is, most of the time, as I observed in life as well, uh, being matured is poorly defined. I used to um, I goof a lot. If you know me in person, I would goof a lot. If you follow me on my personal Facebook page, I post a lot of goofy shit. Okay, and it's it's even annoying. Sometimes I would cringe. I cringe on my own posts, but some I just let it. I just let it. But that's not the point. My point is, uh, since since I was since I've been like that ever since, even when I was still a kid. At least when I was with my friends, I would be the goofy guy. And if you don't know me well enough, my closest friends would think I am I've been described, okay? I'm just telling you what they said about me. I've been described as a deep thinker. So, in high school, there was a girl who told me that I was wise beyond my years, that I was so matured, and that was so surprising to me because everybody else thought that I was just a goofball. I don't know what I did. I was just able to talk to that person a little bit more, um, over things that we don't that most kids don't talk about. And he she that's what she told me. And but most people, if you don't know me well enough, then you would not. A lot of people didn't take me seriously back then. When I was in college, my friends would ask me for advice. I joined this org in college. It's a guidance society, guidance society of Mapua. So we hang out in the guidance office, and the guidance counselors would look at me like I was this this kid, this what's the right word? This obnoxious kid who makes jokes all of the time, and runs after the girls. And that's how they viewed me. Well, but my close friends also thought of me like that, of course, because I've always fooled around. But they knew something else. They knew that they could talk to me about serious matters, and and it made me question, what is your And these are supposed to be guidance counselors, psychology majors, right? So what is it that would make you say, or make you conclude that a person is mature? Do you base it on their disposition? Do you base it on their attitude? Do you base it on their actions, on how they think? Well, I think it's a little bit of all of those things that I mentioned. But of course, like we discussed in the previous episodes, not all aspects about you are known to everyone. There are things that only you know about yourself, or your friends know about yourself, that you don't even know. There are things that everybody knows, including you, and there are things that are unknown to you and also unknown to others. So it's uh so it's easy to judge, uh or rather easy to misjudge a person uh about maturity, because if you don't really know what's happening and how exactly a person thinks, then you would have uh you would just have a caricature of what he really is, and not the full picture. But this thing that I read, this I think this is the best identifier, or the best, or at least the surefire way for you to be able to say that you are matured. And it's not a psychological test. It's more of a real world test. You Brian Tracy again. This I read this from Brian Tracy. Brian Tracy said, "You will never become fully matured until the time comes in your life, or you were put into a position in your life that you have nothing to rely on but yourself." That is the point where you where you reach full maturity, or the process begins. And if you get past through that, if you survive, if you don't die, then if you succeed, and even if you thrived, even after even after being left to fend for yourself, for you, especially if you have kids, maybe your, I don't know, you your husband or wife, you separated, or your spouse died, or you're a kid who's dependent on your parents, and your parents died, or a calamity happened in your life, your house burned down, your house was destroyed by, I don't know, a typhoon or something. These things happen, tragedies happen, and you can't control them. These are That's why these things are called acts of God, even in legal forms. Um, you would see conditions that nobody can do about it, and whatever the case is, whether it's man-made, or or an act of God, then he will still be thrown into a situation where you would be left alone. And you know what? It's gonna be so painful, It's gonna hurt so much, and you would be lost. You could be I don't know. It will be very hard. that is the that is an understatement. Very hard, not just for you financially, not just for you physically, but in every aspect of your life. Because once your world crumbles, the self-image that you honed, that you built for yourself, that you curated, the image that you created um, in society, in front of your friends or everyone in your social circle, it could be destroyed in an instant. If you're hanging out with a rich crowd, and all of a sudden you have no money anymore, then that's gonna affect you. I know a lot of people who were like that. It just broke them for many years. But then again, these things happen, and the good news is, uh, I think I could say everyone whom I know who went through this got through it. Eventually, they step up because they have no choice. They have no choice. And sometimes it is good to be left with no choice, but to work your ass off, but to work for yourself, but to endure and learn, even in the hard way or the hardest possible way. This will toughen you up. This will prepare you. And the sooner it happens in your life, I would say the better. Me, uh, I would say I experienced this in my early 20s, or uh, late teens to early 20s. We had a tragedy in the family. My parents separated, and we lost all the properties we had, and we have no income. And it was a tough time. I had to sacrifice my studies for it, and pave a new pave a new direction, a new path for myself, for my life. And I was devastated. I was devastated back then. But then again, the best thing that happened to it, and I am grateful that I experienced that. The best thing is that uh, I began to know what I'm made of, and the fact that I got over it, that I was able to get to to succeed despite of that, and get over that hump. That that just that just gave me a lot of confidence later on, which I carry until now. And I don't know. That is why sometimes I would say that I am glad that I wasn't born in a rich family. Well, of course it will always depend on, because there are winners, still winners, even when you're rich. And it's not a determinant of your success. I know people who were born into extreme privilege and end up to become losers. Okay? Just because you're rich doesn't mean you're gonna do well in life. That is a lie. That is a lie. That is a lie that society tells you. Don't don't believe that. don't believe that being rich has has advantage, or just being rich. Okay. Well, of course, having money, if you have the right mindset, if you have the right discipline, if you're disciplined, and if you're uh, knowledgeable, if you have connections, then you would have definitely have some sort of advantage. But if even if you have those, you can still you can still be you can still end up in the gutter. You could become I don't know. I've known rich people who became addicted to drugs, and you wouldn't want to hang out with them. I know rich people who 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 are just annoying because they're you, you know when uh somebody feels like you feel that like this someone is a hopeless guy, and you are powerless to help them because you would know that he's not gonna listen to you anyway. There are people like that, and some of them are born rich. Of course, there are having money. Most people, those are really special kinds of losers. Okay. But I would say, uh, uh, being rich would definitely would have its perks. Of course, that's uh, that's uh, that's a given. But but I think the real determinant, the real success really roots from discipline, from fortitude, perseverance, vision. If you do not have that, if you do not have those, then no amount of money can help you. You will just blow it away if you do not if you don't know how to use it properly. If you are ill equipped to to use it, because money is just a tool. You would still need to know how to use that tool. If you use it um, incorrectly, then you will not achieve success. Um, I suppose you can check out financial advisors for that. I'm not a financial advisor, no. So that's another thing. Educate yourself. Educate yourself about money. Educate yourself about finance. Educate yourself about saving, about investing, about looking into the future, and being open to opportunities. Do not do not expect or do not depend on the government to take care of you, because unless, I don't know, maybe in the future, or mid to far future, there would be a government who would be capable of sustaining us. Because if you're gonna depend on the government, what is what is the government? Or you're not what you're the government that you're depending on, or you will be depending on, is the government that we have right now, right? And our government here in the Philippines can't even provide provide uh, car plate numbers on time, or IDs, or I don't know what else, or if your PhilHealth. PhilHealth is some form of Medicare. Cannot even provide vaccines. For the pandemic, really, that is the institution you're gonna depend yourself into. Of course, I'm not I'm not saying disregard government at all. Of course, the government still helps, but it would be ridiculous. It would be really foolish if you're gonna depend everything, if you're gonna put your well-being in the hands of such institution, or any institution for the matter. The only person who would who is guaranteed to care about you is you. You would be the you should be able to love yourself the most. And and that is just the case. If uh if you play scenarios in your head, let's say you're in a room with your friends, and somebody threw a grenade in there. Of course you're gonna you're gonna go out. You're gonna scram. Okay, maybe you go out, leap out of the window. You're gonna save yourself first. That would be the instinct, and that is what you're supposed to do. Of course you can still, if let's say the bomb has a timer, you still have time, and somebody is, I don't know, maybe there's a kid in there. You might want to grab that kid first, but you would only do that probably if you only have the time to spare. Otherwise, both of you would die. But that's a morbid example again, okay? Uh that's just the law of nature. Um survival. Survival is the key. And your will to survive, or the humans will idea of survival, has drastically changed because of how we evolved. It used to be very primal, like in the African savannah, right? Between lions and zebras and gazelles. Those are as primal as it gets. Or any wild, anywhere in the world that has wild animal, that is where predation happens. But in the case of humans, we're not scared of lions anymore. At least most of us. We're not scared of uh, of being eaten. At least for the most of us, especially if you live in the city, diba? Um, we our problems evolved as well. Instead of lions, we are now afraid of bills. Those are the things that will get you, right? It's a responsibility. It's uh it's the bills, it's the collectors, it's well, basically bills. It's your child's tuition fees, it's your medical bills, it's aging, it's, I don't know, your health, or conflicts, like, of course there are still physical conflicts. If you live in, there's still crime, of course. Those are probably as close as most people would get in terms of being preyed upon by wild animals. But even those are pretty rare compared to the majority of the population. Um, so my point is we have different ideas, and the idea of being self-reliant, because back then when we were cavemen, we would we would have to fend for yourself. You would need to run as fast as you can to because the slowest runner would be the first to be eaten. That's why there's a joke. You don't have to be the fastest. You don't you don't need to become the fastest. You just need to be not the slowest if you're being chased by a lion or a predator, whatever. So still, those are things that changed, and well, what I'm saying is that is the rule of the land. At the end of the day, when nobody else is there for you to help you, to bail you out, to you are not you are not entitled for to anyone's help. Okay, people help other people because of caring, because of love. um while of course we need those, but we cannot we cannot force them to give it to us. There's this story about mountain climbers in the Everest, because if you go to Mount Everest, there are lots of people climbing it now. Okay, so it's there's like a just like here in the Philippines, if you go into one of those peaks where you hike, you would think in the photos you're the only one, you're the only person there, right? And then again, yeah, there's a line behind it, and there's a lot of people waiting for them for their turns to take a photo. So it's the same thing in Mount Everest now. It's not that well, it's still exotic, but it's not as exotic as it was before. If you have money, then you can go there. But the thing that I'm gonna share to you is there are people, because in Mount Everest it's so high, the air is very thin already. You can't breathe the way you can. You would need more oxygen. Basically, the oxygen up there is not that dense as it compared here in at sea level. So so people would carry oxygen tanks with them, and there have been instances where people died because their tanks malfunctioned. Somewhere in the mechanism, something's not working, and they couldn't breathe. And you would think, as a human being, breathing air is your most basic of need, that you are entitled. If you're entitled of anything, it's air to breathe. But up there, the air is not enough if you do not have a tank, an oxygen tank. And the people who have their oxygen tanks, people die because people refuse to give them or share oxygen tanks with them. Because if they give you, if if they share, there wouldn't be enough oxygen for them, and they would die as well. You see how this goes. There's no that is the law of the land, survival. That sounds fucked up, but if you are in that position, ask yourself, Only you would be able to ask to answer that. I don't know, but that is how disconnected we are in our in our primal primal upbringing, primal instincts, and but then again, that's an extreme situation. Okay, not a lot of us would be able to go in these places, or like the top of Everest or deep diving, those kind of shit. But but the same concept applies. You are not entitled for anybody's effort, anybody's money, or anybody's time if they are not willing to give you that. You cannot force people. So you would need to have the ability to fend for yourself. Yeah, I suppose that's it. I think it's clear enough. But you need to fend for yourself if the time comes. Okay, and most likely it will come. If you are, here's the thing: if you are a person who is so dependent on people, on other people, you would need to snap. Something needs to snap in your brain, and you need to do something. I've known people. Some of them are really talented. Some of them are very good people, very nice people, but somehow they are trapped in a situation, whether because of guilt, whether because of low self-esteem, for whatever reason, they are trapped either with in a relationship, or in the with their parents, or on a job. These are the things that you can get trapped on, and it's it's not nice. Some let's say if it's just a job, you can quit. You can quit that job. You can just uh you can just build up courage to do that. It might take you a little while, but it's probably the easiest thing to quit. But how are you gonna quit your parents, right? And or your family. So, and a lot of most of the reason why they uh, they get trapped in these situations is because they do not have the ability to sustain themselves. Their finances are dependent on the people who control them. They have no ability to get their own houses or rent, or they do not have the ability to send their kids to school, or get even get food. So they become reliant, and they become subservient to other people's whims. And most of the time, the relationship becomes abusive. If I don't know, maybe some of you who are listening is stuck in that situation. But if you are, you would need to make a decision. Make a decision to make a decision to give yourself dignity. Be learn new things. It's not too late. Maybe there's a voice inside your head telling you that you are done. you can't possibly uh, come back from this now. Those are lies. Okay, as long as you're alive, as long as you can stand, can write, can think, can talk, can draw, whatever it is, there are opportunities now, especially in this day and age. You can pull yourself out. You have hope. I want you to receive that hope from me. I'm telling you. But of course, the decision would have to start from you. You would need to make a conviction and uh, make a conviction and refuse to take part in that cycle of abuse that you are into. This could be hard, sometimes extra hard, because you are you're gonna have to face old demons, most likely, that allowed yourself to be trapped in that situation. So you can check out episode number 20, forgiveness, because that is the key. You need to forgive, especially yourself. Find out about it on episode 20. You can start from there, and then you build up your courage, you build up your character, you build up your skills, and get back and rise up. A lot of people were able to do it, no matter what point in their lives they were. It is possible, it can be done. The voice that tells you otherwise are lies. Those are lies. Those are lies that were strengthened probably by your abusers or you yourself. It's time to stop believing those lies and believe in yourself. But of course, if you're still young and you are fortunate to be not in that situation, do not allow yourself to get in there in the first place. Okay? Do not, by all means, ngayon pa lang, build your character, build your skills, build your confidence, build everything, build proficiency, build competence. Yun eh. That is the word, competence. Take responsibility. Have high standards. These are the things that would help you develop competence. It's not enough to have skills. Competence is your ability to wield those skills. If a skill is a sword, because you can compare a skill to a tool, right? You can, uh, let's say, anyway, I think that's clear enough. You can compare a skill to a tool, and if you can't, let's say your tool is a sword. If you can't wield the sword, if you don't know how to the techniques on how to swing it or how to defend with it, make attacks. If your swordsmanship sucks, then you will not become a great swordsman. And then the opposite, of course, uh, is also true. You would, if you know how to, if you study the techniques better and become a master of them, then your competence shoots up. and you will be in demand more. Of course, not. Let's forget about swords fighting. Let's use drawing instead. So, or I don't know, working, uh, whatever talent you have. If you have the discipline, if you have the ethics, if you wo- if you if you develop enough skill to work fast, these kinds of things, then you will be more in demand, and that is competence, and that is the assurance, your client's assurance that you can do the job with the least amount of supervision, or with no amount of supervision. So your well-being is your responsibility. Okay, and that also applies not in your finances and physical aspects, but also your health, your mental health, your intellect, your relationships. These are You can't rely on other people to fix your relationships for you. That's not gonna happen. So that is your responsibility. Take responsibility and take action whenever you see that something needs to be taken care of. Okay, you can do it. You are not you may feel like you're trapped, but there's always a way out. Good luck. I'm rooting for you. And remember that, again, your well being is your responsibility. And I hope you succeed. Powerful Comics Man podcast.